Sophia sat by the large bay window in her beautifully decorated loft, sipping her morning coffee while the city buzzed below. 3 years ago, mornings like these seemed impossible. She had felt broken, her heart shattered by the man she once called her husband. Liam had been her everything, and when he left her for Rachel, it felt like the ground beneath her collapsed. The shame of their public divorce, the pity from friends, and the whispers of betrayal nearly destroyed her. But today, Sophia was not the woman Liam had walked away from. She had put herself back together, not just emotionally, but financially as well. She had forged a new path that led her to something far more glorious than the pain he caused: motherhood. A soft giggle came from behind her, followed by the sound of small feet. "Mommy." 2 identical figures rushed toward her, their faces glowing with joy. Sophia knelt down, arms wide open as her twins, Noah and Mia, ran into her embrace. At 3 years old, they were her greatest treasure and her most significant achievement. No one, not even Liam, knew about them. She had made sure of that. She raised them with love, shielding them from the shadows of her past. As she held them close, she knew a vital truth. Liam thought he had won when he left her, but she had truly won the moment she chose to live for her children. Liam adjusted his cufflinks, admiring himself in the mirror. At 36 years old, he was successful, wealthy, and soon to be a father. He had everything a man could desire, and he convinced himself that leaving Sophia had been the best choice. Rachel understood the importance of status and wealth. She was attractive, eager, and most importantly, she wasn't Sophia. He smirked, thinking about his ex-wife. She must be miserable, alone, and forgotten. Rachel's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Liam, we should go." She stood in the doorway of their grand skyline suite, her hand resting on her barely noticeable baby bump. Liam felt pride swell up inside him. This was exactly how he envisioned his life: a stunning wife, a child on the way, and a booming empire. "I can't wait to see Sophia's face," Rachel mused with a sly grin. "I hope she still looks heartbroken." Liam chuckled. "Oh, she will be. Women like her never really move on." As they left home, he couldn't shake the satisfaction he felt. He was sure Sophia had spent the last 3 years drowning in regret, still yearning for the life he had taken from her. Little did he know how wrong he was. 3 years ago, Sophia sat in the wreckage of her marriage, gasping for air as the divorce papers lay before her. Liam had made his choice. He had picked Rachel. The betrayal had been swift, public, and merciless. The man she had loved for years had tossed her aside like she was nothing. The nights that followed were the hardest. She cried herself to sleep, replaying every moment of their life together, questioning where she went wrong. But losing him hurt less than what she lost next: their unborn child. Stress and heartache had taken a toll, leading to a miscarriage that left her feeling empty. However, Sophia wasn't a woman who stayed broken for long. In her darkest hour, she decided she wanted to be a mother, with or without Liam. Using the last remnants of their marriage, she accessed their stored embryos from the fertility clinic. It was a decision made alone, without second thoughts. While Liam abandoned her, she chose to bring life to the children he would never know about. 9 months later, she held Noah and Mia in her arms, and for the first time since the divorce, she felt whole again. She might have lost Liam, but in the process, she had found something far more precious: her reason to fight. The transition from pain to healing was anything but simple. Sophia spent nights caring for her twins, tears streaming down her face as she whispered dreams of a bright future for them. She had no family, no husband, and no safety net. Liam had taken everything when he left. But she was determined not to surrender. She dusted herself off and built a successful career, launching her own interior design business that thrived beyond her wildest dreams. Slowly, she turned her suffering into strength. She became a woman who no longer needed Liam's love, approval, or money. Today, Sophia stood on the balcony of her new home, watching her children play in the garden. Her heart swelled with pride. She had done this all on her own. Liam had expected her to fall apart, but she had risen higher than ever. She smiled as Mia called to her, waving a tiny hand. "Mommy, are you happy?" Sophia felt a lump in her throat, but this time it was not sadness, it was victory. She knelt beside her daughter and whispered, "Happier than I've ever been, my love." And for the first time in years, she meant it. Liam parked his sleek black car outside one of the city's fanciest restaurants, stepping out with the confidence of a man who owned the world. Tonight was a special night. He and Rachel planned to showcase their happiness, success, and their upcoming baby. He was eager to see Sophia's reaction when she realized just how much she had lost. Rachel linked her arm with his, her eyes shining. "Are you ready for the show?" Inside the elite gastropub, the atmosphere buzzed with the city's elite. Liam scanned the room, anticipation rushing through him, and then he saw her, Sophia. But something was different. She wasn't the broken woman he expected. Instead, she looked radiant, powerful even. His eyes drifted down to the two children beside her, two identical toddlers with his features. His breath caught in his throat, the world around him blurred. What on earth was he seeing? Rachel tightened her grip on his arm as realization dawned upon them both. Sophia had moved on, and in a way they never anticipated. Liam's world tilted as he stood frozen, staring at the two children clinging to Sophia, twins. His mind screamed in disbelief. It wasn't possible. He had left Sophia, convinced she would never move on, that she would remain trapped in the emptiness of his absence. Yet here she was, glowing, thriving, holding two children who looked hauntingly like him. His heartbeat echoed in his ears as he involuntarily stepped forward, but Sophia barely glanced at him. She was talking to someone, a well-dressed businessman who leaned in close, whispering something that made her laugh. That laugh was light, carefree, nothing like the shattered woman he had walked away from. Rachel's nails dug into his arm, her voice barely a whisper, laced with uncertainty. "Whose children are those?" Liam's throat went dry as he swallowed hard. Deep down, a sickening realization clawed at him. He had an idea. Sophia finally turned, locking eyes with him. The air grew heavy with unspoken words. For a moment, neither of them moved, then a slow, knowing smile curled her lips. "Liam," she said smoothly, her voice carrying none of the past heartbreak. "Rachel." She let her gaze drop to Rachel's barely visible baby bump and then back to Liam's face, her expression unreadable. He struggled to form words, but nothing came out. His mind raced, connecting dots that didn't seem to make sense. The twins, were they his? Sophia tilted her head, almost as if she could hear his thoughts. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" Her voice was polite, too distant. Liam had walked into the night expecting to see a broken woman. Instead, he had walked straight into his worst nightmare. Rachel's confidence, which had been unshakable just minutes ago, began to waver. She had imagined this night 1,000 times, Sophia sitting alone, consumed by regret while she and Liam basked in their perfect life. But instead, she was the one who felt small. Liam felt a surge of anger. "Whose kids are they, Sophia?" A silence fell at the table. Sophia's smirk didn't fade. Instead, she took a sip of her wine, her eyes locked on Liam's. "Why do you care?" she asked softly. But the way she said it, the look in her eyes, this wasn't just a question, it was a warning. Liam couldn't shake the overwhelming feeling closing in on him. "Why do you care?" Sophia's words repeated in his mind like a taunt. Why did he care? Because those kids had his eyes, his features, his DNA. It felt like a gut punch. He watched from the table as Sophia laughed with the man beside her, completely at ease. The sight filled him with rage. He had spent the last 3 years believing Sophia was drowning in sorrow, but now she looked at him like he was the ghost of her past. Tiffany shifted beside him, nervous fingers reaching for her glass of water. Liam felt her anxiety. "You need to find out the truth," she murmured. He didn't need to be told twice. But before he could press Sophia for answers, a tall man in an expensive suit stepped into the restaurant, his sharp gaze landing on Rachel. The moment she saw him, her whole body tensed. Liam noticed how her hand instinctively fell to her stomach. The man smiled, taking deliberate steps toward their table. "Long time no see, Rachel," he said, his voice dripping with amusement. Liam turned to Rachel, confused as to why she looked terrified. "Who is this man?" Rachel paled. "Liam, let's just go," she urged, trying to pull him away. But he didn't budge, tense as he surveyed the scene. The man in the navy blue suit exuded confidence, his smirk deepening as he slid his hands into his pockets. "You look surprised, Rachel," he said smoothly. "Didn't expect to see me." Liam could feel the tension in the air. Something was about to break. Rachel's fingers trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. "Please, let's just sit down," she murmured. But Liam remained frozen, eyes glued to Sophia's every move. Suddenly, her friend leaned in, whispering something that made her smirk again. Liam's jaw clenched. Who the hell is he? Something about the man's presence made him uneasy. Sophia turned slightly, catching Liam's stare, and raised an eyebrow. Is something wrong? She asked, amusement flashing in her eyes. Rachel stared at Liam, panic rising. We need to go. But Liam couldn't move, his body was rigid, eyes burning into Sophia. Whose kids are they, Sophia? Silence fell over the table once more. Olivia maintained her smirk, ultimately taking a sip of wine, her gaze still locked onto Liam. Her calm voice cut through the tension. Why do you care? Liam felt the gut punch again. He couldn't fathom what he was feeling. These were his children, and Sophia was making him suffer. All of a sudden, the kids rushed to Sophia, and his heart sank further. He felt helpless as Rachel's fingers shook, gripping Liam's arm tighter. Sophia's friend leaned in, further embedding himself in the scene, whispering something that made her smirk again. Liam's blood ran cold as he turned to Rachel, determination stirring inside him. Why does this man think he has a right to speak about you? Rachel gasped, desperation lingering in her voice. I promise. The man spoke up again. You didn't tell him, did you? A chilling silence filled the air. Rachel's frantic expression was all Liam needed to see. Confusion flooded him. What does that mean? The man smirked. You're happy over a pregnancy that isn't even yours. The room fell dead silent, and Liam's blood turned to ice. His voice was low, laced with rage. What did you just say? Rachel grabbed his arm, pleading. He's lying, Liam. But Sophia's voice rang out, smooth and deliberate. Do you really think that's your baby? The weight of her words crashed down on him, suffocating him. Rachel's tone trembled. Sophia laughed, ruthless and cold. Now you know how it feels. Liam stormed out of the restaurant, fury consuming him as he tried to process what had just unfolded. He had traded everything for a woman who ended up betraying him just as easily. His mind raced while he dialed Sophia's number, heart pounding. It rang, and for a fleeting moment, he hoped. But when she answered, her voice was icy. What do you want, Liam? His throat tightened. The twins, he said, raw with emotion. There was silence. Then, her quiet exhale hit like a freight train. You lost the right to ask me anything 3 years ago. The line went dead. Liam stared at his phone, pulse racing. For the first time, he felt powerless. Rachel sat alone in their skyline suite, city lights blinking through the large windows, casting shadows over her trembling frame. Her hands rested protectively over her stomach, her mind racing with thoughts of how fast everything had fallen apart. She had worked hard to build her life with Liam, keeping Sophia's name buried in the past. Now, in one night, everything crumbled. Liam hadn't come home, hadn't called. She knew he was digging for the truth. A soft knock on the door made her heart race. She already knew who it was before opening it. Jake stood on the other side with folded arms, his expression serious. You should have told him before I did. Rachel gripped the doorknob, breath shallow. Leave, Jake. Please. But he didn't move. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice low. You made your bed, Rachel. Now you have to lie in it. Tears stung her eyes as she realized the truth. I love Liam, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake scoffed. Love? Then why were you in my bed while you carried his last name? Rachel felt her knees weaken as she clutched the doorframe. She had convinced herself that Liam would never discover the truth, that her affair wouldn't matter. Now, she faced the brutal reality that she had lost everything. Liam sat at the velvet lounge, swirling whiskey in his glass, the bitterness of betrayal tasting sharper than before. The moment he left the restaurant, he searched for proof, anything to disprove the nightmare unfolding. But no matter where he looked, the truth remained. Rachel had lied. The humiliation weighed heavily as he thought of Sophia's twins, their resemblance to him, how Sophia politely refused his questions. He had to know the truth. His lawyer, Mr. Hastings, adjusted his glasses as he flipped through a folder. Liam, I looked into this, and you're not going to like what I found. Liam clenched his fists, feeling impatient. Just tell me. Mr. Hastings sighed. Before your divorce was finalized, Sophia used your frozen embryos. The words slammed into Liam like a freight train. What? You're saying she had my children without my knowledge? Mr. Hastings nodded. Legally, she did nothing wrong. The embryos were stored while you were married. Liam's heart raced. His children, his blood, had been growing up without him, and he couldn't do anything about it. He shot up, fists clenching. I want custody. Mr. Hastings shook his head. That isn't possible. Sophia has full legal rights. You abandoned her. The world spun. Years ago, Liam thought Sophia was the one left behind, but now he realized he was the one truly alone. He had lost Sophia, lost his marriage, and now lost his children. And the ugly truth was, Sophia had known all along. Sophia stood at her office window, gazing at the city below, a quiet strength in her posture when Liam barged in, face darkened with tension. She didn't flinch, simply crossed her arms. I assume you got your answers? His jaw tightened. You used my embryos. You took my children away from me. Sophia tilted her head, unfazed. No, Liam. You did that when you walked away. He took a deep breath, desperately wanting to argue. I deserve to be in their lives. Sophia's voice dropped, but her resolve remained firm. Where were you when I was carrying them? Where were you when I held them for the first time? Liam felt shame wash over him. She was right. He hadn't been there. You lost the right to call them yours when you chose someone else over us, she continued. Liam stood there, defeated. For the first time, he understood what it meant to lose. The news about Liam spread quickly, whispers following him everywhere, at work, clubs, and events. His phone rang constantly, investors withdrawing, board members demanding explanations. His image was tarnished. The same people who had once admired him now looked at him with pity and disdain. He slammed into his office, fists pounding against the desk. Fix this, he barked at his assistant, but she hesitated, uncomfortable. There's nothing to fix, sir. Your reputation is ruined, she replied softly. His stomach churned. He'd built his empire on appearances, and now it was falling apart. That night, he sat in his empty penthouse, staring at the city that felt suffocating. His reflection haunted him. He had everything, a devoted wife, a future he took for granted. Now he had nothing. Sophia had moved on, thriving in a way he never anticipated, while his children were growing up without him. And Rachel had vanished, leaving only the wreckage of a broken relationship. He raked a hand through his hair, breathing heavily. For the first time, he was accountable for his actions. Rachel sat in a run-down riverside inn, cradling her newborn daughter. She had nowhere to go or anyone to turn to. The designer clothes that once symbolized victory now felt laughable. The people who had once welcomed her now ignored her calls. She passed by a cafe window, her reflection shocking her, a version of herself she didn't recognize, hollow cheeks, tired eyes, and the weight of poor choices. Inside, she saw Sophia having coffee with Daniel, laughing warmly. For the first time, Rachel felt a deep sense of regret. How had she gone from being Liam's trophy to a forgotten woman without a father for her child? Desperation set in as she picked up her phone, scrolling through her limited contacts, looking for someone to help. One by one, her messages went unanswered until she found herself dialing Sophia's number. When it finally rang, her heart raced. Sophia, please. I need help. A long pause hung in the air. Then Sophia's voice filled the silence, calm and unwavering. You took everything from me, Rachel, and now you want my kindness? Rachel's lip trembled. I have nowhere to go. Another pause. That's not my problem. The call ended, leaving Rachel stunned. For the first time, she understood the true meaning of having nothing. Liam sat in the dim corner of the velvet lounge, staring at his untouched whiskey. The pain of lost opportunities weighed down on him. No amount of wealth or power could fill the void. His phone, once buzzing with activity, was eerily silent. He could no longer hide from the truth. He had lost everything. A familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. You look terrible, Liam. The moment he turned, he saw Sophia standing a few feet away, arms crossed. She didn't need to chase him. Fate seemed to be presenting itself. Did you come to gloat? He asked, trying to sound nonchalant. Sophia shook her head. I don't need to, Liam. You did this to yourself. He grasped his glass, feeling the weight of her words. I miss them. I missed you too at one time, but then I healed. You're still trying to chase after something you threw away. She turned to leave, and he felt something snap inside. She wouldn't return, he had lost her forever. Sunlight streamed through the Sunrise Cafe windows as Sophia sipped her tea, warmth radiating within her. For the first time in years, she felt light. She no longer lived in the shadow of the past or the weight of Liam's betrayal. With Daniel beside her, her heart felt whole again. He had been patient, waiting for her to heal, never rushing her. Now, she was ready to step forward. As she looked into his eyes, she realized happiness didn't have to be a battle. With Daniel, she felt safe and respected, everything Liam had never given her. She took a deep breath, allowing herself to embrace what she always deserved. Meanwhile, Liam sat in his empty penthouse, staring at Sophia's number highlighted on his screen. He wanted to call to apologize, but he hesitated, knowing the truth. Sophia was moving forward without him, and for the first time, he truly understood regret. He parked outside Sophia's home, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. He had rehearsed what he would say 1,000 times, words of apology, confessions of things he should have said long ago. He had spent weeks responding to his mistakes. Taking a deep breath, he stepped out of the car, walking toward the door, his heart racing. When it opened, Sophia stood there, expression unreadable. "I just want a moment with them," he said earnestly. Sophia didn't move, studying him like she was weighing his worth. "They don't know you," she replied flatly. "I know, but I want to change that." A bitter smile formed on her lips. "You don't get to rewrite the past, you chose Rachel." His chest tightened, she was right. "I made mistakes," he admitted finally. There was tension in the air as she paused before saying, "Some mistakes can't be undone. Some second chances aren't yours." Sophia closed the door, leaving him outside, where he had put himself long ago. Rachel sat in the cold hospital room, trembling as she wore the rough hospital gown. She felt weak, exhausted from labor, but the emptiness in her heart was worse. There was no one to hold her hand, no Liam or Jake beside her. She had spent months thinking that even if she lost everything, at least she would have her child. But staring at the tiny baby sleeping in the crib beside her, she realized she had no idea how to be a mother. Tears blurred her vision as she grabbed her phone, trembling hands dialing Liam's number. When he finally answered, his voice was devoid of warmth. "Congratulations, Rachel." Her heartbeat raced. "Please, I need help. I can't do this alone." There was a long silence before he replied coldly, "You think I can help you after what you did?" Rachel tightened her grip on the phone. "I made mistakes, but so did you." A bitter laugh followed. "And yet, only one of us is paying for them." Her breath hitched. "Please, just come see her." Another pause. "I'm sorry, Rachel, but I'm done saving you." The call ended, leaving her feeling crushed. She had gambled everything and lost. Meanwhile, Sophia sat on the balcony, a cool breeze blowing through the air, while laughter echoed from inside. Her twins were playing, their joy untouched by the pain she once felt. For too long, she fought to prove she was stronger than betrayal, stronger than heartbreak. Tonight, as she watched the stars twinkle against the evening sky, she realized happiness wasn't just about overcoming the past, it was about choosing to forge a new future. The sliding door opened behind her. Daniel wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You're thinking again," he said. She smiled, leaning into him. "Always." He turned her to face him, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Are you truly happy, Sophia? Not just surviving, not just healing, but genuinely happy." She met his gaze, reflecting on the woman she was before, who longed for Liam's love and approval. Now, she was someone who had rebuilt her life on her own terms. A genuine smile spread across her face. "Yes, I am." Daniel kissed her forehead, and in that moment, wrapped in the warmth of his love, she knew she was finally living the life she was meant to have. Liam sat in his once grand penthouse, staring at an old photo of Sophia, realizing she had truly moved on. The family he envisioned was gone forever, and he would never reclaim what was lost. The documents in his hand confirmed his fears. There was no place for him in her life anymore. His phone remained silent beside him, void of messages, no second chances offered. He had cast aside Sophia once, believing he had the upper hand, but now it was painfully clear. Sophia had always been the true prize, and he let her slip away. She had triumphed, not from revenge or bitterness, but by simply choosing herself. For the first time, Liam fully felt what it was like to lose everything valuable to him. As he sat in the empire he built, he realized that Sophia had won the battle, and she was never coming back.